And I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Shashi Pandey, who has been addressing very crucial issues. The last issue which we addressed was opportunities in pandemic. And prior to that was cognitive fatigue in the pandemic. And this topic which we picked up, I wish to set the ball rolling now. About 2 weeks back, this was discussed in the SAARC nations. There is the International Council for Futures of Learning being established by UNESCO. And the council is being chaired by Her Excellency, the President of Ethiopia. You see, the pandemic has hit one and all on this globe. And it has shined a very harsh light on all the systems and functions of the society, which have literally crumbled down. Man is under the tremendous pressure. It is for the first time the might of the man has gone for a toss. And I wish to share, the man has been blessed with two special faculties. One is thinking and the other is discovery and invention. These are two faculties which makes him go in life and which puts him in trouble also. All this habit of dominating the nature, dominating the world is very inbuilt in the man. Whatever happened in Wuhan, we don't want to take it, but eventually a lot of troubles for the mankind all around could be seen, which when we talk with the panelists, we will share with. All that will be revealed. Important point is, at this juncture, it is very important to take a pragmatic and on-time decisions, so that once we are through, we are not caught on a wrong foot like we are caught now. We were never prepared for blended learning. That's how we were caught on a wrong foot. The education is disrupted. The two major common goods sector have gone for a toss, health and education both. UNESCO, in one of the forum, the thought leaders from the academia, science, technology, education, they have come out with some ideas for us to debate, deliberate, so that we can come to some kind of understanding, and that too in the Indian context. These are not 10 commandments. These are not 8 commandments. These are not the cardinal principles. These are the ideas. We need to deliberate, see how relevant are they in our context, and what are our recommendations. Let us have a understanding about these ideas. Let's see what are the harsh realities we have gone. So we are going to have 2 rounds. I've set the ball rolling now. We will have 2 rounds. First round will be, I'm a sportsman, we'll go for warming up. And then we'll go for exact, the match. So warming has to be only the warming up. So say 2 to 3 minutes to warm up, so that we can play a match. Our body is in and mind is in condition with all this. I hope Radhaji and Vijay has joined Shashiji.
Sir, Radha ma'am has joined us, and we are still waiting for Vijay sir.
Radhaji is there. Okay. Yeah.
Good evening.
And
Good evening.
Vijayji is also there. I can see Vijayji as well.
Yeah. Now,
Vijay ji,
yes.
good
Good
evening.
evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening.
So we,
Fortunately, there is net. As long as it's there, let's enjoy this.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Weather is bad.
We are going to face the storm. We are not going to lose at all, neither to
We are
the
not
virus
gonna
nor
do-
to the storm. I'm very optimistic about it. Let us,
Absolutely.
ladies first, we start with Radhaji. Radhaji, what we were talking about is
Yeah.
the way the pandemic has started. How do you, I mean, what is your take about how the mankind in India has undergone? In just 2 minutes time, if you can share with I have at least after the partition, this is the first time one of the biggest migration this country would
Yes.
have experienced. People
Yeah.
being lodged, dislodged. So I would like to hear from you what is your take on to that?
Yeah.
What are all those harsh, you see, inequalities which has been exposed?
Absolutely.
What are those vulnerabilities which has come forward? Kindly go ahead.
Yes. Now, with the beginning of this pandemic, what's happened is we have seen for the first time that the schools are completely closed, but education is not closed, and teachers and students are finding themselves working in new circumstances, probably in a domain like sir was saying that they have never explored. It's an unknown domain for them. So now what happens? We have faced 1 year, and as the new session begins, what's going to happen here is some very difficult choices will have to be taken regarding how the schools will go on and how typically the education is going to function. And if education needs to function, we cannot leave well-being behind, whether it is physiological well-being or mental well-being. They have to go in
Yeah.
tandem. It has to be there. And the
Recording in
digitalization that
progress.
Radhaji, future course of action we'll take further later. Let us talk how things have been so far with us.
Yes. So for now, what is happening is, like I was just speaking about the same thing. It is going to be very different. But what has happened? The schools are closed. Teachers were thrown into a domain where they have never been before. And the kind of lessons that was expected, the kind of involvement that was expected out of a teacher, a profile which was never appreciated all this while, suddenly came into front. They were put in parallel with the educational, the health workers. Health workers were number one, and teachers were doubling up as number two. And with the schools moving to the home front, what is happening? We realized even parents needed to get involved with the education or engagement of their children. So with so many things happening, and you already said we were not prepared for any of these things. And not being prepared and not being able to make education typically, I will not say to avoid inequality, it is to make it equitable. Our education was never equitable. We saw a lot of unevenness there and a very unfair exposure and treatment to children. So with this kind of a situation where the schools were shutting up, what is happening? Children were learning from home, and for so many multiple reasons, there were so many children who lost education.
I think Radhaji, you have made very good point that the kind of disruption this virus has brought along with it, and the kind of scenario currently is very unpleasant. And I think we have a leader from the ground who has a hands-on experience being on the ground as a principal. Dr. Vijay Dattaji is the principal of a modern school, Barakhamba, and he has a background of Mayo College, Ajmer, and he's a man with from an English language background, and he has touch with ground realities. I heard him in the NCRT very recently, and I was touched with it. He was not talking something on paper. He was talking some real ground realities. So I thought we hear from Vijayji. Vijayji, how do you see the role of a teacher, which has been redefined? Of course, everybody's role has been redefined. How do you see the role of a teacher now currently, and not only in modern school, because your school is, in touch with across the communities in the remotest corner. How is it? It is only the 60 to 70% of the total school-going population, which is 1.5 CR. These 80% is in the rurals. So how have you seen that? Take is yours.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings to Mr. Sharma. Well, sir is, of course, a sports person, and you can hear it in his vocabulary. A sports person is always very optimistic. In the present times, this is what we need. We need optimism to the hilt. It's been a viral apocalypse. It's been harrowing times, grim and morbid times. It's been a complete catastrophe, a COVID catastrophe, we may say. So we need is hope. Hope over despair. And teachers are the torchbearers in this regard as well. Once again, they have shown the way and continue to do so. They will do so to make this a strong nation, to us come out of this kind of a very difficult predicament. Well, it's very rightly said, there can be muddy teaching in marble halls and excellent teaching in muddy walls. It's a teacher that makes or breaks a school and a society, in particular, a school where he or she is, but on the whole, the society. He is the foundation. He or she is the foundation of the society, of the future, of the nation. And therefore, I think he has a major role in circumstances like these. And I'm very proud to say that teachers have risen to the occasion one more time and have delivered. They have been remarkable as far as innovation is concerned. For the regular traditional teaching concerned, mostly face-to-face teaching, chalk and talk. Of course, technology came in, but like Mr. Sharma just said, that is not just schools like Modern School or the top schools of the country that we are talking about, or the JP schools. We are talking about the schools in the rural sector, where the technology has not been there and they have struggled somehow to bring it in. I would keep it a very general description. In the villages where I used to be going with my father when I was a child, I have seen the ground realities, how difficult it is, and to provide them internet, to provide them laptops. The government is making a Herculean effort in this regard, so that the education reaches the grassroots, reaches far off places. Here in our schools in Delhi, we sit and we talk about how we can improve. But there in the villages, it is from hand to mouth. The basic necessities are not there. Food is not there. Forget about laptops and internet accessibility. Forget about the broadwidth and all that we talk, the terminology, the jingo that we use here in the capital.
Well said, Dr. Vijay. I think that's what we expected, because you had, experience across the country, and it was delight having you here and giving such a nice perspective. I thought somebody with a background of village as well as the township, I will now request the Panch Sahab to take a call onto it. Sir, when you see the condition today, that we in the urbans, I'm being a teacher. I keep patting myself that I can teach online, but the percentage in the urban area is very, very, very insignificant. India lives still in the villages, in kasbas, in districts. So how do you see the right to education is happening in the rural areas? And what do you see about the right to education?
Anyway, I will not be able to say much about what is happening, but what could happen, I will talk about, because my exposure to villages is limited to Asian Games village. There is no other village that I have really seen or lived in. But the point is, and I have no hesitation in saying, the mobile phone has reached almost everywhere. And the mobile phone is a very good learning device. The UN every year for the last 10 years does a mobile learning week where it tries to tell about how mobile phones can be used for education. We, on the other hand, were banning mobile phones for learning. So the point is, you have created a toolbox fallacy where you have said, first I have to give a computer and then internet and then they will learn ABCD, whereas mobile phone and apps are already there. Malawi, which is the third poorest country in the world, has a set of apps for learning maths for young children, which was then brought in the UK because they found the app was very effective because Malawi had no teachers, nothing. So the whole point is, do we want a solution or not? My point is very simple. If you don't want a solution, you can keep on cribbing. But I also want to respond to the other thing which you asked in the beginning, what is a teacher? What is the role of a teacher? And I want to say some insights which I gathered recently. When I was a small child, we were studying in school physics, things called simple machines, the lever, the inclined plane, the pulley, and so on. My elder brother was going for engineering, and I heard that they will be learning about machines that make machines. And I was very impressed. And this is what factories and mechanical engineers are about. And then it occurred to me that actually teachers are learners who create other learners. So to answer your question, teachers are lifelong learners who create other lifelong learners. That is the core. Syllabus, prescription, this, that is the thing, the core thing is. And in my current thinking, and I have written a blog to which I have given the link for detailed thing, but very specifically, like you said, this warming up. In my warming up, what I want to say, the future is about self-learning. We have to encourage self-learning, and therefore the teacher becomes the self-learning facilitator, rather than talking about the subject itself. And if you see the new education policy, in para 4.6, they said learning how to learn is the most important thing. The two key features of the new education policy, one is learning how to learn, and then learning a lot of subjects, not just being in silos. Both of this will get expedited if you do this with self-learning. And therefore, the role of the educator is to make your learner a self-learner, and then they can learn various subjects. So subject is not first, self-learning is first, subject is second. So I think this is enough for a warming up, and then we'll go along.
Yeah, I think well said, sir. And you rightly said that, teacher has to be a lifelong learner. That reminds me, even Delhi University has also started a department in DUA, Lifelong Learning Institute. That is for the benefit of all attendees who are there. And UNESCO had it much earlier. Lifelong Learning Institute. I've been a member and I've been doing, courses onto that. I take on something with the Bhattacharya ji Saab, who has huge experience of handling schools from Bal Bharti to now being the chairperson of the unaided recognized public schools, and with all hands-on management of schools. Sir, what I see is that the kind of the domestic budget which is provided for the education, because education is a state subject, so each state has its own priority. If we see the country's budget, in the NEP, they have made a provision of 8%, whereas Delhi government spends now 26%. That is how we say Delhi government schools have improved. Now, since you deal with the management of the schools, how do you see in terms of domestic budget for the education?
Thank you, Mr. Sharma, first of all. subject part, the matter that you have referred to me to deliberate on, a provision of the budget for education, particularly school education. At the outset, I'd like to say that out of the GDP of the country, at the moment we are spending only 3.6 or 3.7%, which is very, very inadequate. In fact, the minimum of the 11% of the GDP must be earmarked for education. And only then we can improve our quality education and can also eradicate illiteracy that exists in the past 74 years in the country is a huge blot on our education system, for our society, for our democracy. Despite the fact that in directive principle of state policy, we had mentioned about to be given on a priority, and we should try to eradicate education, the illiteracy, in a 10 years time period. Unfortunately, we have not been able to achieve that. That's the first
Right, sir.
Are we very serious about education? Are we serious about making investment on education to make education really at par with the international standard? There's a big question. And at the moment, Mr. Sharma, I would like to touch upon some other issues, if you allow me to. First, my point is this entire education system has been totally derailed on account of the lockdown. The schools not functioning physically for the last more than 1 year. It started in the month of March 2020. It is continuing and it will continue because there is a threat of the third wave. And what is going to be the toll of the third wave, impact of the third wave, we cannot say anything. It is said that most people believe that maybe the entire 2021-22 session shall also be totally delayed. Because if suppose there is a third wave, that means now it will continue to the month of December, November, or so on. So the entire education sector has been totally delayed. This is my first point. Second point that Professor Punk mentioned, that the cell phones have reached in every nook and corner of the country, and the people have the advantage of computer, advantage of laptops, advantage of especially the cell phones, which are easily available and not very costly also. I would like to say here, I differ with Professor Punk. Why? Because India at villages, the number of villages, we have huge number of villages where there is no provision of electricity. I know about the tribal areas, where there is no provision of electricity. And even today, the children are deprived of cell phones and other electrical gadgets. The third problem that we are facing today is a huge problem of huge magnitude. That is about the number of schools which have been closed down in the last 1 year's time. The number of schools which have been closed down, if you want to know the figure from different parts of the country today, is going to be huge, and we don't have any information about that. But I know more than 1,500 schools have already been closed only in the urban areas. I don't have any information about the schools which have been closed in the rural areas today. Secondly,
I think you've addressed it very well, sir.
Dropout rate. Can you imagine how many what lakhs of children have already left the school? It's a totally chaos. And therefore, the children...
And that's going to multiply, sir. That's going to multiply. Absolutely.
Yes,
well said, sir. I think your takes onto the budget allocation and your worry about the connectivity in the villages is very well taken and very well expressed, because you have also spent a lot of time in the villages. May I carry forward with Radhaji? Radhaji? Is
Yes,
Radhaji there? Radhaji?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
If we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yeah, there is a video. Once I put on the camera,
Okay.
I'm not able to get the voice.
One small correction that I'd like to suggest to Professor.
Sir, go ahead.
I'm the president of the Action Committee of Private Unaided Schools.
Absolutely.
More than 1,500 schools all across the country.
Yes. Which is, I thought we in the education fraternity, we all know the kind of role you are playing is something very well. And Since we can't see Radhaji, we go on to Vijayji. Vijayji.
Good evening
Hello.
again.
Sir, Vijayji,
What's-
I carry forward a point from Professor Pan. He
Gee,
was talking about teacher being a lifelong learner,
that's right.
and Delhi University has started with a lifelong learning institute as well. Prior to that, UNESCO had also, triple L prevalent. And
Yeah.
the national education policy in 5.15 has made a provision for the CPD, continuous professional development. So the CBSE demand about 50 hours per year from per teacher. How far? What is your take about it, sir?
Well, they should not mandate like this. I mean, the thing is, one needs to play by ear as per the requirement. Dictates like that don't really work. How much is the need, especially people like the principals, those who lead from the front, they know what to do. So it's all right if somebody is seeking guidance and you want to give them some kind of a yardstick, but such dipsticks don't really work in education. That is what I very strongly feel. The human touch, the judgment, the experience that you get after being in education, only you can tell. Such yardsticks, rule books. I was at Mayo College where they used to say, rules are for fools. It is, you have to judge. That's what the work of a captain is. You are a sportsman. It's so easy to relate to you. You would understand when you are standing in the field, there is captain over there. And he decides what field placement has to be there. If somebody from outside, the coach gives you the field placement where it is supposed to be, then it would simply just not work. I would tell you of when Bishan Singh Bedi was leading and we had just started to watch cricket. He once asked Sunil Gavaskar to go and stand at Silly Point. And people wondered, why all of a sudden he has asked Gavaskar to go. Gavaskar went there, just turned, and Bedi bowled, and the catch came right there. So if the coach gives out from outside, the field placement has to be at this, one player has to stand there, it doesn't work. One needs to play by ear.
Well said, sir. I think these are some of the ground realities which only a ground leader can put forth. So well taken, sir. I think we'll take all these recommendations, we'll collate it, and we'll try to put it to the Government of India, who is also going to take this forward, this document, restriction of 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I hope the other people have joined, or
It depends upon how
Ansari-
much they have learned during the pandemic.
sir, we have learned quite a bit, particularly this technology. We were not that good, but then we picked up well with the time, because you are all the time at home.
Right.
Otherwise, your commitments are, and usually UNESCO workshop are held in the middle of the night. The
Mhm.
Sweden time is 6-hour difference.
So actually, because you're a sports coach, I would like to share with you a metaphor I was using throughout, although I'm not a sports person myself. I said, when you're
Right,
playing
right.
a game, let us say cricket, you are
Ji.
always looking at where the ball is going and positioning yourself to do the best to the ball. So we have to
Absolutely.
anticipate where the future is going to be and prepare ourselves to take advantage of the
I-
future. And
I
whether
think
it's a
well
ball
said.
game or even a board game, even in a board game, if you're playing chess, you have to anticipate so many moves. I will do this, then he
Absolutely.
will do this, then I will do this, then he will do this.
Absolutely.
So the point of it is about anticipating the future and preparing for it. And that is why self-learning becomes so important. Yes,
Very
continue.
right, very right. Otherwise, you really cannot play a game unless you adjust yourself to the ball,
To the
which
situation.
is going to matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think people are by and by joining it, sir.
Yes. So you continue taking your role.
Yeah, absolutely. Has Vijayji joined?
Yes, I'm
Is Radha
very
ji there?
much on board. I'm very much
Yeah,
on
yeah.
board.
I think, sir, well taken, and I think with your take, this is a ground reality. Is the ground, leader on the ground can tell you. You can put things in paper, and ultimately, if it doesn't result in, it is
Absolutely.
not meaningful.
Absolutely.
So my next take is with Radhaji. Is there?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm there,
yeah.
Sharmaji.
You can hear her,
Radha
but
ji-
you cannot see her.
Sorry,
Her
Can't
bandwidth
see
is
me, but
limited,
you
so
can
you
show
can
me,
hear
of
her.
course.
we would love to see you, Radhaji.
Yeah.
The net connectivity will collapse.
Right.
Like it
But
just
let's
did.
hear her. So,
Yeah, I think
okay,
it's
let's
No,
hear
important.
her.
Yes.
Okay, your voice is very clear. Radhaji, the kind of inequalities which we see, how do you see the role of his solidarity? I think we see it. Initially, what we saw was that there was a lot of disparities. There are a lot of inequalities. Now what we see is we are not been able to move out of the house, and we are looking for some help. And this help has been extended by nobody else, but the courier boys are coming, delivering you. The concern, what you see now, policeman, his role has been redefined. He's not fine to be brandishing dandas. He's distributing masks and all. So how do you see the how we can remove the inequality, or how we can at least reduce the inequalities?
Yes, this is really very valid in times when we know that the children are confined to home and the teachers are connecting with the students remotely. So what happens here is, when we are going to be having a situation like this, we need to make sure that the families and the communities are going to show more resilience. They are not going to be very confined. They are not going to be very siloed. We must encourage conditions also that give our educators autonomy and flexibility to act collaboratively. We cannot so far from collaboration. Yes, we
Go
have
ahead,
been
Radhaji.
faced with a situation where probably collaboration was at its peakest. So I think we need to create a forum, or we need to create an opportunity, or the teachers need to be taught how to take care, to act more inclusively and collaboratively with the students and their families. Now, what happens, like the essential workers of other sectors, teachers have managed to go beyond the call of duty. We have seen that happening here. So now what happens? They have responded to the students' need with extra efforts. So this educational response to the COVID and the crisis has revealed that the capacity of our educators to draw from their professional knowledge and to mobilize and be resourceful and creative has been maximized at this point of time, and it cannot be handed down from the top-down model. It cannot happen. So understanding that the educators, our educators, need to be upskilled and they have to be empowered. The more opportunities, the more environment that we create for this kind of an activity to happen probably will go a long way to ensure that this problem of inequality, unevenness, and even equity, the making the education equitable to a large extent, will be able to manage to salvage whatever is left now. Because seeing the way this academic year is also begun and it is heading to be, with the third wave projected and people are anticipating, a lot of things are being talked. I think we need to take the cues straight away, try and act in ways that are going to be adding on to our efforts to make education reachable to the masses, try to include as many children who have fallen out of the education system, try and provide whatever little technological support is possible, empower your teachers digitally, technologically, and probably that would be one of the foremost activities that needs to be engaged to make sure that probably this unevenness that we are talking, the uneven distribution of the reach out of education online or the remote learning happening, remote learning systems that need to be in place, we need to intensify those. Like even many times, even our UNESCO documents talks about similar activities where this digitalization needs to be given to the teachers, and they need some kind of upskilling to make sure that this kind of difference and disparity can come out.
I think Radhaji, you made a very valid point. Your worry about, dropout of the children and your concern about their rejoining. I would like to take it up with the. Hello, I would like to take it up with Dr. S.K. Bhattacharya ji, sir. Since, sir, are you connected with? Hello. Hello. Is Mr. S.K. Bhattacharya ji is there? Vijay ji.
Good evening again.
Vijay ji, what Radha ji has said is the possibility of return of the children. That reminds me the way this pandemic has hit the social space which these schools have provided.
Yes, yes.
What is your take, sir, about it?
Well, school spaces are indispensable. Though we are trying to compensate and we'll have to create that kind of school spaces. I will give you something very close to my heart is, say, nature is very important for students. When they come out in the schools, we have vegetation, might be not as much as Barakamba has, but there is some vegetation somewhere they are taught to plant, and they are in touch with nature, which is missing currently in the present scenario. There are a variety of ways of doing school. Nature can be brought home by the audio and the visual. You can show them clips of nature. You can create sound effects of nature, which are proven, scientifically proven. Another thing that is close to my heart, I would like to talk about it, the scientific attitude. It is scientifically proven that being close to nature, both as sight, as audio and visual, is good for children, for their well-being, which is a major concern today. Well, as for the social spaces, schools do a variety of things. They are centers of social service. They're centers of community service, community centers they are. So that has to be created, children have to be taught in some way, like our school went out and gave out the food packets. So that feeling might be the child himself cannot do the social service in this situation, but his school is doing it, is taking care of the poor, is going out and giving food packets to the needy, to people outside crematoriums, to people outside hospitals. When he hears of his school doing this, this value is generated in a child. So the social spaces, which are very difficult to replicate while the child is at home, is to be made an attempt in some way to be compensated to some degree. Well, the human relationships, the human interaction, the dialogue, the exchange, when you talk face to face, cannot be replicated on an online mode. Like just now, we were having Ma'am Radha, and there was disruption. It was not like talking to her face to face. Those social spaces are meant to be created by the virtual world. Attempts are made, and it was just like said that the phones are there, there are video call facilities there. Those social spaces are being created. The attempts are being made, but it cannot be as good as what it is in the school. No matter how many hybrid forms of learning we introduce, whether it is synchronous or asynchronous, it is only a substitute. I will not say
well said, sir. Well said. I think your approach is very optimistic. What you say that, when we are in lockdown, we have to learn to cater to the children, the virtual tours. Yes, Rajaji, we'll take on with you. So we missed you in between, but we'll take it up now.
Just one point I wanted to make here.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. When we are talking of education, when we're talking about schools as physical spaces, we cannot completely do away with them. That's for sure. We need to bear one thing in mind. Education and learning are all about a lot about human interactions with each other, exchange of ideas. That is what is enriching to and ultimately leads to a very qualitative form of education, not quantitative, qualitative education. So when you're talking of this qualitative education, one thing I personally feel which is very relevant here is others. I mean, everybody else other than just you is equally important in enriching you and enhancing your own learning experiences. If that is true, which I believe is true, we cannot do away with school spaces. They are going to be there. Probably some form of blended and hybrid schooling needs to be done to take care of the third D, the third dimension that I call it. That is the social emotional quotient, which our children are deprived of presently. That has been the Waterloo, that's been the watershed for the present year. But now with the new session waiting to begin, I think we need to do something about this to make sure that there is some kind of social interaction between friends, within teachers, the touch, the feel of a teacher near you. I think it enhances learning multifold. Thank you.
Well taken, Radhaji. You made very valid point. Even Vijayji said we cannot do away with the school. They are not dispensable. They are indispensable. And I will take this with Professor Pant. How does you feel, sir, about the higher education, the social space which has been provided to the colleges and universities? How badly are they hit in the pandemic, and how do you foresee further?
See, to me, there is a huge distraction coming up, because you have to first see what is the goal of education. If you remember my metaphor about the football or cricket playing field, you have to see what are we preparing them for. Now, this is a brutal truth that if they are not going to be prepared for the knowledge, it's supposed to be educated people, educated for the future. Now, if they don't know what is the things that are coming in the future, with all the social skills, etc., they can keep on doing various con jobs, etc. The tragedy of India is, and I am saying this very bluntly, you have seen this before, sir. Much of your higher education people are not considered of any value. There was a time when BA pass meant something very big. When in engineering, very few people did MTech. I remember when my elder brother wanted to do MTech, his friends thought he's becoming mad or something. BTech is very good. So people were valued. Today, you can have 3 PhDs and still you will not be eligible for a PM job.
Well said. I think
but two
I think there is
aspects. The organizer is very without being educated also. So there is no problem on that. But universities are about preparing people for a career through education, knowledge, and cognitive skills. Now, if those are missing, which they are very brutally, because I'm not saying the only Bharat Ratna in science and education, CNR Rao, said in Rashtrapati Bhavan that 80% or 90% of our universities have out-of-date curriculum.
Yes.
And nobody challenged them because they thought that actually it is much more. It is only 80-90%. So there is some respect for something. So to me, we have to fix the main thing first and then the peripheral thing. And the main thing is that we are getting out of alignment with what is needed. And the point we need is to train a large number of people very quickly in whatever is going to be useful knowledge. And the World Economic Forum in January 2020 has said not only for India, it has said world needs 1 billion people to be reskilled. And India is a founding member of that group. So out of that 1 billion for the world, 1/6 would be our share. So to me, that is a very important thing. These things are also important, but there can be various other ways of building those. So if you are working in a Gurudwara and distributing these kind of things, you're learning. I think we should not mix up that where the main purpose is lost, but an associate professor purpose is being highlighted as something. This is not a debate about face-to-face learning or online learning or remote learning. This is a thing that in these circumstances, how do you prepare people for the future? Somebody said, I think Dr. Bhattacharya says, 2020 is a washout, 2021 is a washout. And even if you say that I have somehow done the exam, I have passed that, CBSE has done some formula, etc., the world knows that these people are not. I don't know whether you know, there was a time when newspapers would advertise graduates of such and such university need not apply. Graduates of this batch of the university need not apply because that academic calendar went for 2 years. So this is going to be an issue, and I think that focus should be on learning, and as I said, self-learning, amplifying the learning and aligning the learning to what is needed. There is no point in saying I have done something which was something, but they are not ready for the future. And I have no hesitation in saying that the kind of success we had with the IITs was because in the 1960s, IITs changed the paradigm of education. There were engineering colleges before that. Guindy Engineering College is very old. Banaras Hindu University was there. So many universities were there. But when IITs got created in the 60s, they transformed the model of engineering education. And while there are lots of details, one of the things that I can say is that they changed the slide rule wielding engineer to a computer programmer who could solve problems by programming them rather than doing it himself. And this is what the future is about. Future is about automation, it is about augmentation, it is about abstraction. And if we are going to create, so IIT Kanpur had an IBM computer from USA, IIT Delhi had an ICL computer from UK, IIT Chennai had a Siemens computer, and so on. So we have to prepare people for the future. That is my main emphasis. Everything else is incidental.
I think we've very well taken, Professor Pang sir. And sir, since you are a man from a science, how do you feel that how we can ensure the science literacy within the curriculum which is present in the school curriculum?
Yeah,
which is
so
very...
not only science literacy, see, actually, as we know, our constitution has in the directive principles development of scientific temper, spirit of reform and inquiry. Unfortunately, it was interpreted to get the scientists or science teachers to tell people about science. No, scientific temper is to create a science where it did not exist before. See, the point
Absolutely.
is, people think that science is only what Raman did or Saha did or Krishna did. No, you create science every day if you follow the scientific temper. And many of you know, today the buzzword is data science. So you
Absolutely.
talk about data science,
Data
training
science,
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So the
absolutely.
whole idea is that you're talking about scientific approach to doing something. And this
think
is
well
where
said, sir.
the whole idea is. So what happened, because our obsession with subject teaching, we start teaching science to everybody. It is not about teaching science to everybody. It is about everybody becoming a scientist. You may create a completely new science, and you know cognitive sciences has developed recently. Psychology has moved to cognitive science. We have data science. We had geology as earth science. So many things. So the moment you have a scientific approach to anything, that becomes
think well said.
scientific method. And this
Well-
is what
well
has
said.
to be taught. Unfortunately, we gave it to science teachers. They again wanted to teach physics and chemistry. And so on. So we are not talking about teaching science. It's a way of thinking.
I'm sure the teachers who are attending, the principals who are attending, will be greatly benefited with the, kind of sharing Professor Pant has done. That it is the scientific temper which we need to develop. And I will take this with Vijayji. Vijayji, are you there?
Yeah, very much. I'm always there.
Sir, since you are in the role of a school leader, what they now call is pedagogical leader, and
That's right.
ensuring science literacy within the school curriculum, which the Professor Pant said that it is a matter of developing a scientific temper, not teaching physics, chemistry, or biology.
Yes, that's
What's your
really
take, sir, on this?
That's really very well said. In fact, if I may briefly mention, my topic for PhD was a study of life skills and emotional intelligence as a correlate of scientific attitude. I did my BSc and then MA English. So I have exactly the same sentiments that Professor Pant has just expressed on the matter of scientific temper or scientific attitude or positive disposition. In my research, I correlated it to positive disposition, because science, as Professor Pant very correctly said, scientific temper is not just maths, knowing maths or physics or chemistry or biology, or scientific attitude is not that how well you can put that formula and calculate the right answer. That is not scientific temper. Scientific temper or scientific attitude is much more, and it involves everybody. It is part of education. It is encompassing the education in entirety. Without it, education is not complete. Positive disposition in itself can be taken to optimism, and in the present times also it can be related to not being superstitious. In the villages, there are so many superstitions that you encounter. The simplest one is a cat crosses the road and there is some misfortune that is going to come your way. Well, this is what we need to conquer. You sleep under a particular tree and the ghost takes over you. That is what we need to conquer. It is so well brought out. I'm so happy this evening. There's something very close to my heart, which I did in my regional college, Ajmer, when I was doing my PhD over there. I studied and spoke about this quite a bit. And superstition, say you sleep under a tree and you feel dizzy in the morning. Carbon dioxide, you absorb too much of carbon dioxide, therefore you are not feeling as fresh, and it is not the ghost. So having a scientific attitude which conquers over superstition is very important, and scientific temper, the use of data science, positive disposition, optimism is very, very, very important. I will, if I have just a minute, give you one more anecdote. I have a doctor friend of mine. I have a doctor friend of mine who was bitten by a snake. And he came to my place and he started talking. We started sipping tea. And then he very casually mentioned, he said, well, you know, just some time back, I was bitten by a snake. So I said, oh my God, you were bitten and you are telling me so lightly. Well, I saw it was not a poisonous one. My father has sent an antidote. It would be reaching in 2 hours' time. It takes this much of time for even if it was poisonous to work. So he had a very scientific temper, which conquered what a misfortune. Otherwise, we know in villages, if you are bitten by a snake, a lot of deaths happen not because of the poison, but because of the shock that, oh my God.
It's the fear.
Yes, it's
Very
a fear.
right.
It's a shock.
I think Vijay is summed up well with the very, very relevant example, which we all might have come across, and all these myths and superstitions have played a role in our life. If Mr. S.K. Bhattacharya sir is there, sir. I think we've lost his contact somewhere.
Yeah.
If I once again take it up with Professor Pant, it was very nice hearing you on scientific temper. Sir, hello.
Yes, continue.
Sir, when we see education as a common good, along with these are all state subjects.
Yes.
How do you find education as a common good? Because India means numbers, and India means length and breadth.
Yeah.
State has a responsibility to cater to each and every citizen with the equal opportunities for living. So as a common good,
my response is, yeah, it is. See, it is not only a common good. It is that. So I was once with a very well-known historian, philosopher, etc., and he told me that when the British came to India, they wanted to know how is the education system organized in India, and they were told it is organized by the community, and the community takes care of its needs. It appoints the teachers, it appoints this thing, and so on. And they said this must stop immediately. This has to be a state subject. Only then we can rule these people. If it is going to be left in the hands of the community, we will never be able to rule them. And that is why, all these Woods Dispatch, Macaulay, etc., all came out of that. I think we should understand education is not a state responsibility. Education is an individual responsibility. Just like your breathing, eating is your responsibility, education is your responsibility. And in today's time, the big problem is that education by authority is the big mistake in education. I say this very often, that we've all got university degrees. When you get a degree, what does a vice chancellor say? By virtue of the authority vested in me as vice chancellor of the university, I grant to you this degree. He doesn't say, you and I have discussed, we engaged in discussion, we differed in opinions, we agreed to disagree, we saw different points of view. Now you are a mature person who can be called a university graduate. No, he says by authority. And one clerk from UGC sends a letter and all that authority goes without any. So the point is, we have to get back. And I am a great supporter of this, and I will share this with you for a couple of minutes. So education belongs to the community, not to the state. And many of you may not know, because she was not publicized, the 2009 Nobel Prize in Economics was given to a lady who was a professor from Elena Ostrom from University of Bloomington, Indiana. And she got the Nobel Prize in Economics for proving that many things are better done by the community than either by the state or the private sector. In fact, prior to that, there was an axiomatic thing called the tragedy of the commons, that if something is held in common in the community, it will perish. It will be destroyed, and therefore it has to be taken over by government and then done privatization, which is what is being done by education in education also. But Elinor Ostrom got a Nobel Prize for saying, no, things which belong to the community are best handled by the community. And as I said, this was the point before the British came in. So the moment we take this back to learning community, the better. And one of the big examples of this is the scientific community. We were talking about science. Science does not run on authority. Science runs by the scientific community, accepting, and anybody can challenge. Even Einstein was challenged. And some of the things which Einstein said were wrong. You did not say that, "Nani, how can you be so disrespectful to Einstein," and so on. And I'll share with you, because this is a very interesting story. We talked about science. Science is exactly opposite of appreciating authority. So from physics background, things which the electron, I think, was considered a particle, and Father Thomson got a Nobel Prize for showing that the electron is a particle. His son Thomson got a Nobel Prize for showing that the electron is a wave. And de Broglie got a Nobel Prize for saying it is neither electron nor wave. That is what the scientific approach is. What does data tell you? What does sort of observation tell you? And how do you interpret it in your model? And that is why scientific temper gives you, as was being said, that flexibility, that desire to change, to get closer to the truth over time.
I
So I'll stop.
I think well said, sir. And we have taken and been very educating. State education not being a state subject, it has to be in an individual. Perhaps we missed out somewhere in meta learning. Meta learning has never been a part of our learning. And I think participants, I'm too sure, our experts have taken up the issues with regard to the education as a common good, the education, the role of education, the fund requirement for education. I think we've taken up variety of issues, and
most important, education as a sport. Most important, education as a sport.
As you well said, education as a sport. It's been very enlightening, sir, hearing you. And thank you very much, sir. And thank you, Vijayji, Radhaji, and Bhattacharya, sir. I think we enjoyed hearing you, and it was wonderful session. We will now further take it up with the students on intergeneration participation in the decision making. Thank you very much, and thank you, participants. We enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Radhaji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
And thank you, participants, all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
I'm sure you enjoyed hearing
Actually,
Professor Pansar, Bhattacharya sir. We missed out. There was disconnection, but we see you in the next. In 2 minutes' time, we are going to end. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you for this platform. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Shashiji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vijay sir. Especially thanks for you for giving us your precious time.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.